Are you ready?
Yeah.
This is the Ross Kaminsky Show.
You're a great American.
Now, Ross Kaminsky.
Come on, man.
On Denver's talk station, 630 KHOW.
All right, producer Shannon tells me that it's Strawberry Sundae Day, which is why I'm wearing a red shirt today. Actually, it's not. Oh, look at that, producer Shannon. I noticed that the telephone here, there we go, that was off. It's got a loose connector on the back of that phone. Oh, look at that. When I put the phone down, the phone goes off, so I couldn't take your calls or a guest or something. That's wonderful. Okay, we got a lot to do today, including some baseball All-Star Week, weekend week. I guess you'd call it week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of this coming Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We got some giveaways for that. We're going to be doing all show long. And, in fact, I'll do one in just a couple of minutes here. I'll explain it in a second. But I want to start with something else just for fun, just to wake us all up this morning. We're going to start with the Babylon Bee. No, I'm not spending much time on Strawberry Sundaes because I don't have much use for them. If a sundae, isn't a hot fudge sundae or at least a hot caramel sundae, I don't have much use for it. Never really understood strawberry.
Producer Shannon.
Yes.
It's also Macaroni Day.
Oh, that's
which
interesting.
I initially misread as Marconi Day, which I thought would be a bigger deal for us. But
yeah, those would both be good. Now, Macaroni Day, to celebrate Macaroni Day, does it have to be cooked? Or could you have raw macaroni and, fling it around the room or something?
And stick a feather in your hat.
Oh, indeed. Indeed. And then just, I don't know, call it macaroni. Oh, my goodness. It's going to be that kind of day, isn't it? All right, here we go. This is from the Babylon Bee. The Biden administration is providing new guidance to coroners and medical examiners across the country for determining causes of death. From now on, doctors and officials who sign death certificates will be required to choose, when it comes to assigning cause of death, they will be required to choose between COVID, climate change, or systemic racism to describe how the person died. Listen, folks, this is much easier, said Biden in a statement to the garbage disposal in his kitchen sink. It's multiple choice. We know these things are really the only evil forces at work that could be responsible for killing someone. It ain't that complicated, Jack. Biden then immediately tripped and fell down the stairs, almost dying of climate change. Several lawmakers like AOC have expressed support for the federal changes. Quote, we are, really glad the president is making sure we get to the real root causes of all the death in the world, she said. This stuff is real. I almost actually died of systemic racism just last week. According to sources, some are working to add homophobia and Trump as possible causes of death as well. So there you go. You got that from the Babylon Bee. Your new causes of death available to coroners on birth certificates include COVID, climate change, systemic racism. Oh, there is a box for all three. Somebody died of all three of those, but there is not a choice for anything else. That is the world that we live in today. Okay, I'll tell you what. I want to do a little baseball thing here, which we're going to be doing throughout the show today and again tomorrow. Let me explain this briefly, explain this as quickly as I can. We are, over the course of today's show, going to collect 16 names. I'll tell you how we're going to do that in a second. At the end of today's show, I am going to use an online random number generator from the website random.org to pick two numbers between 1 and 16. The first will win a pair of tickets to this Sunday's event that includes the All-Star Futures game, All-Star Celebrity Softball game, and a little concert by One Republic in between those two games. That is this Sunday at Coors Field. So that's going to be cool. So the first winner will win a pair of tickets to that. The second winner today, and I'm going to pick them both in the last segment of the show, is going to win a pair of tickets to Monday's Home Run Derby. And then everyone who enters today and another 8 people whose names we will collect tomorrow will be eligible for a drawing that I will do at the end of the show tomorrow. Again, I will pick one random number using the website random.org, and that person will win a pair of tickets to the All-Star game itself on Tuesday. So to get started this morning, we are going to producer Shannon. By the way, producer Shannon is going to need your name, your email address, and your phone number. Okay, he's going to need to collect that information for you so we can get in touch with winners. Let's take callers 6 and 7. Let's take callers 6 and 7 at 303-713-TALK, 303-713-8255. If you're not caller 6 or caller 7, Shannon's not going to answer the call. He's going to answer callers 6 and 7. We'll take 6 and 7, and we're going to add you to the list, and then we'll do this again later. All right. So I want to spend a little time on something that I've been, not just lots of people around this country are thinking about lately. And it seems like on the one hand, there's some pushback. And on the other hand, there's increased intensity, determination by the left to really continue to focus on wokeness, critical race theory, and such things. Story by Christopher Rufo from the Manhattan Institute and City Journal is, this guy is really leading the charge on outing the infiltration of this destructive kind of thinking into American culture, business, education, everywhere, everything. And he had a great piece that he published yesterday about Raytheon Corporation. Now, keep in mind, Raytheon Corporation is a defense contractor and an electronics company. They make satellites, they make weapons. It's not exactly on the bleeding edge of political correctness, making weapons of war. And by the way, when we go to war, I want to win. So I want companies like Raytheon. They need to be around. They need to do a good job. And they need to be focused on the mission. So stories like this are particularly troubling. Let me share with you what Christopher Rufo wrote about Raytheon yesterday. Raytheon Technologies Corporation, the nation's second largest defense contractor, has launched an anti-racism program that promotes critical race theory, rejects the principle of equality, and instructs employees to, quote, identify their privilege or else. Beginning last summer, the program, called Stronger Together, encourages employees to, quote, become an anti-racist today. Raytheon CEO Greg Hayes supported the campaign by signing an Action for Diversity and Inclusion statement promising to, quote, promote diversity and cultivate meaningful change for our society, end quote, then asking all Raytheon employees to sign the pledge and, quote, check their own biases, or check your own biases. Beneath the platitudinous public statements, however, the Stronger Together program relies heavily on critical race theory and manipulative pedagogical techniques. According to documents and videos that Rufo obtained from a corporate whistleblower, the program begins with lessons on intersectionality, a core component of critical race theory. Intersectionality maintains that the world can be divided into competing identity groups with race, gender, religion, sexual orientation, and other categories, defining an individual's place within the hierarchy of oppression. In a workshop entitled Developing Intersectional Allyship in the Workplace, diversity trainer Rebecca York explained to Raytheon employees that critical race theorist Kimberly Crenshaw developed the concept of intersectionality to expose, quote, interlocking systems of oppression and, quote, break down power into privilege and marginalization. Now, let me just interject for a moment here. When you're thinking about all this, thinking about it in the context of a very large Fortune 500 company, defense contractor, right? Electronics and weapons and this kind of stuff that they're doing. One of the key things that I want you to ask yourself is, does this kind of conversation have any reasonable place in a business like that? And for yourself, when you're in your own business, this is the thing. Maybe I'm just in the wrong place, by which I mean I'm in the right place, but maybe I'm just in this weird bubble where I'm oddly not surrounded by racism every day, or even hints of it. Do you, in your own workplace, find yourself deeply offended or giving offense because people around you won't stop being racist, sexist, homophobic, anti-Semitic, on and on and on, all day, every day, and you just find yourself going along with it, and oh, hey, I'm a racist too now. Do you find any of that? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think part of the problem with this massive push by the left towards critical race theory is that the vast majority of Americans think that, and this is to put it kindly, think that this is a solution in search of a problem, although they don't, most Americans wouldn't even think that this is a solution for anything if they actually understood what it was, because critical race theory and all of this intersectionality stuff is nothing but cultural Marxism, racism, designed to take other people's money, designed to build political power for left-wing groups. And it's an entirely dishonest thing. And yet, now it's in Raytheon? Let me go back to Christopher Rufo's piece. In a related lesson, Raytheon asks white employees to deconstruct their identities and identify their privilege. The company argues that white, straight, Christian, able-bodied, English-speaking men are at the top of the intersectionality hierarchy and must work on recognizing their privilege. And they must step aside in favor of other identity groups. According to outside diversity consultant Michelle Sahini, whites, quote, have the privilege of individuality while minorities, quote, don't have that privilege. What on God's green earth does that mean? What does that mean in the United States of America? What does that mean when we had a black president? We have a black vice president. We've had multiple African-American attorneys general of the United States. We've got a black defense secretary, black CEOs. I mean, and of course, Hispanic and Asian, everything everywhere. It's the United States of America mostly living up to Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream. What is it about these woke CRT people who want to tell everybody, especially our children and apparently also the employees at Raytheon, that the United States of America is racist and not living up to Martin Luther King's dream and all that? These are the people who aren't. These are the racists. Why would a CEO of a company like Raytheon go along with it? Well, because they're afraid. Why are they afraid? They're afraid because so far, the bad guys have been winning. The far left wokeists, the people like Ilhan Omar and AOC, they've been winning because the rest of America, who realizes that all this stuff it's not just a joke. That's unkind to jokes. This is really, really harmful, destructive stuff. Remember what the left has always been willing to do to get and maintain power. Think about how many millions and millions of people were killed. Domestic political enemies were killed by creatures of the left, like Mao and Stalin and Pol Pot and even Hitler. I mean, we talk about Nazis as of the right because of all the racist stuff, but really in every other sense, in every sense that had to do with politics and domestic politics in Germany, they were creatures of the left. Their economic views, creatures. Remember, Nazi, National Socialist. They're creatures of the left. How many people have been killed by the left in their efforts to gain power? And always finding this enemy. It's the Jews. It's people with glasses. It's intellect. Pol Pot killed people who wore glasses, right? It's the intellectuals. It's the bourgeoisie. It's the kulaks in Russia. It's on and on and on. And we're going to kill them all. And you better not be like one of them, or we're going to kill you too. This is really, look, I'm not saying that the wokeists in America are planning to kill everybody, but they're going to get right up to that line. They're going to kill you professionally, socially. And all these CEOs are going to be afraid until the rest of us stand up and say, stop it, and we're going to support you, Mr. or Mrs. CEO. We're going to support you for pushing back against this insanity. The Raytheon program then tells white employees to adopt a new set of rules for interacting with their minority colleagues. Employees should identify everyone's race during conversations, including those who are white. White employees must listen to the experiences of marginalized identities and should give those with such identities the floor in meetings or on calls, even if it means silencing yourself to do so. That's a quote. This process of voluntary racial silence is a win-win because, quote, you learn more when you listen than when you speak. Next, in a chart entitled What Not to Say to Your Black Colleagues Right Now, Raytheon instructs white employees never to say that they, quote, pray things change soon or hope that social tensions, quote, calm down, which, quote, says their comfort is more important than the message of anti-racism. Whites should acknowledge their own discomfort is only a fraction of the emotional distress of black employees who are exhausted, mentally drained, frustrated, stressed, barely sleeping, scared, and overwhelmed. All right, so let me interject here. There's a lot more to this article. I'm not going to get to all of it right now, but you get the idea. If your black colleagues are feeling exhausted, frustrated, barely sleeping, scared, and overwhelmed, this is management's problem, not your problem. Right? What does that mean about the people who are running the company if people of a particular race at your company feel that way? I bet they don't feel that way. Remember, you got a black engineer working at Raytheon and a white engineer working at Raytheon. It's pretty obvious what they have in common. They're both engineers working at Raytheon. How stupid is it of the CEO of Raytheon to introduce anti-productive, counterproductive, racist mindsets, getting those two people to mistrust each other and look at each other on the basis of race? This stuff is incredibly harmful, and this is just